This is Niall here, and he's going to look after you. I will meet you halfway down the hill there. You'll see a sign for the Bishop's Walk. I will meet you there at 12:10. Okay? So Niall is going to take you for about 30 or 40 minutes, and you've plenty of time to have a little wander around, get some great photographs, and I'll see you there at 12:10. Is that okay? Yeah. Thank you, sir. You're gentleman, the scholar. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. And I'll see you guys. Okay.
No.
Niall.
He just killed me.
Thank you.
He done like this for the
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
We always tell our visitors when they come here to the site, it's very uneven here on the rock. There's grave slabs, it's curving around the graves, there's very low doors and the steps throughout. So as you're walking around, please just take care of your own safety. So with that, folks, we're going to move up to the cross, just up the slope here. And that's where we're going to give you a short introduction to the history of the site, and then we'll have a look at some of the features. If you'd like to follow me up.
Huh?
You record on record. Yeah.
I'm gonna give you away.
4th century AD, there were kings in this part of Ireland. They were called the Oganata, and they probably chose the rock as their place of importance because it had such a good view over the surrounding landscape. That was very important to them for defence. They didn't know if there were any armies coming here to attack the Rowan. Also, they had a source of water, a natural well here in the site. That was very important, the well, water too. And that dynasty, they last here on the site up until the 10th century, and then a rival family took over, the Dalgash. This was the family of Brian Boru. Has anyone here ever heard the Irish family name O'Brien? Traditionally, all of the O'Briens were direct descendants from Brian Boru, so it was quite an influential man by history. He was the first king in the south of Ireland to come over king of the Irish. But it was actually his great-grandson, MacCartan O'Brien, and his successor here as king, that gave this site and all its possessions over to the Catholic Church in the left. So all of the buildings that we have in the rock today, they're all church buildings. So it's the only site in Ireland where you have a round tower, a robust tower, a godly powerhouse down the west, and the choir's residence. So it's the only place in Ireland where you have many different medieval church buildings all into one place. A lot of people come here, they often ask, was the Catholic site or was the Protestant site? At different times it was either. Okay? So originally it was a Catholic site, but when Elizabeth Tudor, who was Queen of England, she gave many lands in Britain and Ireland over to Protestant landowners. That's what happened here with the Rock of Cashel. For the 150 years that followed, for the most part, it was a place of Anglican communion. But in the middle of the 18th century, the Archbishop decided he didn't like the wind too much. He was spending money every winter repairing the buildings up here in the site. So he decided instead he would build a new palace down the town of Cashel. I'll stay to the Cashel Palace. And in the years that followed, many of the buildings they fell into ruin.
Come on this way.
Even close.
Right here. No,
Right here.
Right here.
There.
There you go. You're welcome.
So folks, we're just going to move over here now a little bit to this building here behind me. This is the Tower House. And it's actually one of the most recent buildings here in the site from the 1420s. And another name that's given for it is the Palace of the Archbishop. Now, it does not look like a palace as we understand it today. But it was the residence of the bishop here on the Rock of Cashel, the Archbishop of Cashel. He needed to have a secure building because not alone was he a bishop, he was also King of Desmond. Desmond was one of the three kingdoms in the south of Ireland. So because of that, there was an increased risk to his person and his life. So for his residence, he needed defensive features. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard of the Blarney Stone in County Cork. That's in Blarney Castle. It's a tower house, and this is another example of one of those buildings. So you can see up there the wall on the left hand side, extremely deep, around 3 feet across. Very difficult for an attacking force to gain entry into the building. Hands up here who are right-handed. Hands up who are left-handed. Okay, so a bit of majority there for right-handed people. It's been very similar back in the 15th century. So spiral staircases in these tower houses typically were downwards in an anti-clockwise direction. And that gave an advantage to the majority of people coming down the stairs. They would have a clear swing with their swords. People coming up in the opposite direction would constantly be catching their swords off the middle of the spiral staircase. So straight away the attackers will be at a disadvantage, unless they were left-handed. Of course, if you were left-handed, you're usually the first person going up the stairs. So it's not as much an advantage individually as the first hand.